Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I'm Leah Jones, and I'm the CEO of QA Connect Management Consulting. My company specializes in audits and quality engineering services that support the medical device industry. Our core values are ethics, innovation, and vision. So we currently have partnerships right now with Master Control, Avendium, and Amplilogic. We are based in San Leandro, California. We're a small startup. We started 4 years ago. So today's agenda will discuss audits from a risk-based approach, and I will also discuss the ISO requirements and FDA requirements for audits, and I will discuss leadership responsibility and organizational context and the long-term benefits of risk management. So you will come away with an understanding of how audits help to reduce and mitigate risk. So we all know that risk is inherent in everything that we do. When we take an airline, get on the airplane and take a flight, we're taking a risk. When we get in our cars to drive here in the Bay Area on the freeway, we're taking a risk. And risk is inherent in everything that we do. So we have all seen the news lately with all the different recalls of the companies such as Teva and Philips and other companies that are having all these recalls. So between 2018 and 2022, there were 13,623 medical devices that were recalled. And in the last year alone, recall events increased by 8.8%. Resulting in millions of dollars lost. So why audits? Audits are valuable tools that help to evaluate a company's ongoing conformance and performance, and they are also important to ensure the verification of the ongoing system compliance to requirements. And why are medical devices, why are audits for medical devices so important? Because FDA requires that audits have to be conducted and planned on a regular basis, and so does the ISO requirements, which are the International Standards Organization. So these audits have to be planned at regular intervals, mainly annually, to determine if your quality management system is adhering to the regulations. So I'm going to discuss 3 different types of audits that are required for medical device manufacturers. And I'm going to start with supplier audits. So supplier audits are audits of a supplier's processes, products, quality, and quality system. And so these audits ensure that external suppliers meet the organization's quality standards and quality agreements. And so the risk of not doing them can result in loss of your vendors and clients and also your credibility. So I would like to share a real life example of an audit that I conducted a few years back. And this was a manufacturer that manufactured reagents and antibodies. And reagents are chemical substances that help to have laboratory tests and analysis. And so this particular supplier had quite a bit of non-conformances. There were a lot of issues with the product not conforming per specification. And I also noticed that this particular supplier was not on the ASL, which is the approved supplier list. So when I went out to the location, I discovered that this manufacturer was creating reagents out of his garage. So I was very shocked and very stunned that I had never seen anything like that before. And usually reagents are manufactured in ambient temperature controls, which are 65 degrees Fahrenheit to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and they're stored in freezers at -20 to -40 temperature controls. So automatically I issued a major nonconformance and this supplier was disqualified. So it's very important to audit your suppliers and to know who your suppliers are and if they are actually who they say they are. and if they are creating products that are safe for your customers. So manufacturing audits. These are usually assembly line audits, mainly for Class 2 and Class 3 devices, which are the high-risk implantable devices, but these can also be for Class 1 devices. And these audits help to determine if your MPIs, which are your manufacturing process instructions and policies, are being followed. And they also help to verify that controls are adequate, suitable, and in place. And these audits can be combined with the Kaizen technique, which is what I do. And you can also combine them with PDCA, which is Plan, Do, Check, Act. And these audits are very effective at revealing flaws in the system and to help mitigate risks, and also to help with flaws in the manufacture of the design of the device. So I'll give another example of a Class 2 device. It was a breast pump. And this particular device, over a 3-year period, had over 3,000 complaints, and they had 2 CAPAs that had failed. And at one point, this device, when the mother and her child, she was breastfeeding her child, this particular device overheated and exploded. And thank God the mother and the child were not harmed. And so we were brought in to do a retrospective review and also some process audits to look at this particular device. And during the audit, I discovered that there was not a proper FMEA, which is a failure modes effects analysis, risk analysis. So that was not conducted properly. There was just a simple Word document from 1 to 3 of the possible risks and things that could happen. And a lot of times when you have these Class 2 and Class 3 devices, the risk has to be calculated with an RPN. And a lot of times it can go from 1 up until 30. And so this device was eventually recalled and taken off the market. And when we look at the automotive industry with the laminated windows that are, on the cars, such as Tesla, when they go under the water, these windows will not break. That's another example of not doing the proper FMEA, and where manufacturing process audits can come in and help mitigate and prevent all of these risks and issues. So internal audits, again, they have to be conducted annually per FDA regulations, and they look at the full quality management system from manufacturing, purchasing, design control, all the different components of the quality management system. And so the risk of not doing these audits annually can result in delays with your ISO certification or recertification of your ISO certificate if you're selling in the EU. And also, I've seen it happen where FDA will issue 483s, which are warning letters, when it's combined with issues such as multiple complaints and multiple CAPAs and lots of MDRs. In conjunction with the lack of internal audits, FDA will issue a 483, which is a warning letter. So it's very important to conduct these audits. So leadership responsibility. So the credibility of the audit and risk programs are enhanced if the role of the audit function is communicated by executive management. And when I say executive management, I mean the quality director, vice president of quality, or even senior quality managers, and that it is understood by all the internal stakeholders. And this can take place at, management review meetings or monthly or quarterly meetings. And you can combine it also where all the internal stakeholders are involved with the deliverables, such as establishing a risk-based audit program or risk management program. And all of the stakeholders can be involved with the implementation of these quality programs, because as Deming said, quality is everyone's responsibility. So some key takeaways are that a risk-based audit program is an essential part of continual process improvement. Risk management helps to mitigate and prevent recalls, and risk management leads to greater efficiency and profits.
My name is Renee. I have been in consulting for 20 years. I'm a principal consultant for Insight Qual. I worked in multiple projects, international for pharma, mostly pharmaceutical, medical device companies. My company specialized in project management, computer system validation, commissioning, qualification, validation, and cloud-based deployment, data integrity, IT vendor assessment, and audit. I covered lab systems, IT infrastructure, ERP systems, quality management systems for North America and Asia. Today, since the subject is extremely broad, I make it my presentation question and answers, and I try to cover as much as I can. I'll be talking about validation for the computerized system and the data integrity. So we are moving from for any changes, we are moving from like something we don't know, we know, to something we don't know. And we keep thinking how we're going to proceed from a system who is not validated that will be validated in the future. So there will be always questions in our mind how to validate a system and how to make sure it's compliance within the regulatory agencies. So the first question anybody could ask, why we need a computer system to be validated? I'm not sure people here, if they are aware why we need it or not. Honestly, I'm just having a high level description for the validation. Why we need a validation? We need a validation. It's for the health industries, medical devices, in order to establish a validation program. We need to do the validation for the procedures, for the process, for the equipment. And why we need it? Because we follow the rules for the Health Canada, the FDA, if we are selling our products or medical devices in the UK, the Australia, the European as well, and also the international bodies, which is the WHO. Meaning these agencies, they really put some regulation that we have to follow in order to sell our products. And high level of the computerized system, why we need it. The computerized system is any product that has a direct GXP impact, and I put like a definition for the GXP, meaning we need to do validation for production, process, storage of the data, finished products. And this must be validated in order to meet the integrity, traceability of the product quality. If anyone have question about GXP, the X is the regulation and guidelines from FDA. And X could be good manufacturing practice or good clinical practice or good laboratory practice. In pharmaceutical or in clinical research, it's heavily involved in GMP and GLP and GCP. This is just FDA warning letters. Part of why we need it. There are a lot of warning letters, and this is statistic. I have it for 2018. I mean, how many warning letters when there is any companies fail to follow the regulation of the FDA and other regulations. So if I have a high definition of the computerized system, again, the computerized system is not the software only. It's the software, it's the hardware that we implemented and implement the software on, and the process around it. It could be documentation, it could be training, it could be any audits for it, any documentation around it. It's all covered the computerized system. Again, I'm going to go a little bit details on the system, how we validate it. We follow the methodology of waterfalls or agile. Now, many health care companies, they are moving into agile because of easy to iterate and go back if we need to change any user requirements. The waterfall has been used for many, many years, which is on the plan, design, build, and test. But lately, many pharma and medical device companies, they adopted implementing any projects and validating the project within agile methodology. This is a very high level of validation, really what it takes, documentation and phases that we will be generating. Again, it's a whole life cycle. It can take from 3 months to 9 months to 1 year to validate a system. It depends the system, how complex is the system. If anyone is aware of the GAMP of the software, which is the Good Automation Manufacturing Practice, depends on which GAMP we will validate the system, what approach we are taking, and we start from the planning, user requirement, functional spec design, and all this documentation will be tested in IQ, OQ, PQ. Also, we will do implementation, and we put a retirement plan for many softwares when we will be retiring it. This is just a high level of definition of the GAMP. What's the GAMP? It's any software we buy it. It's within the industry. This is the definition of it. I'm just not going to go through it. And the 21 CFR Part 11, it's a very important component for validating any computerized and electronic data systems. And we cover always the audit trail, security, training, verification, and once we do that, the system will be certified to FDA. This is a high level of what SOPs any company would like to have when we do the validation. We have to look into task execution, how we gonna, like the operation of the document, how critical is the document, who's responsible for what approval is required, qualification protocol format and template, data collection, change control mechanism, and there are way more SOPs around when we work on validation any systems. So really, maybe one of you now asking, what is in it for me or for us or for the company? Why should I do it? And trust me, I've been in many client side, and the people or the scientists or some people, they're not aware of validation. They ask me why you are here. Well, first of all, we follow the regulation requirement to have a safe data integrity. We have a product quality, safety, risk, safety, maintenance. And also, the most important thing is to keep the company business and to secure our jobs. I mean, when we are in regulated environment, we need to secure our jobs. We open the market to any GXP environment. If we are in the medical device companies, many times we sell to the pharma, and this is a big market. When and where, anytime there is a GXP environment, we need to work on this computerized systems and in any GXP compliance facility. Always the change, it seems very fearful and we are confused, but once we have everything defined, we will feel it's much easier. We have a process, we have documentation, we can work on the validation and move ahead with it. Definitely, there will always be something going wrong. We know that. But again, validation covers something, a lot of contingency plan, rollback plan. We can work on that. We can produce a plans that if anything went back, we roll back, and all can be mitigated. This is it's a high level of the computer system validation as per FDA. So really, computer system validation is critical process ensuring the systems, and the systems can be medical devices, can be softwares, can be equipment in the lab, operate consistently and produce results that meet predetermined specification. So we have specification written, we do the validation and make sure it's meeting all these specifications. That the first part was about the validation. I'm going to jump quickly into the data integrity. Miguel, how I'm doing in time? I just didn't time myself. Is it good?
Doing well, doing well.
Okay, good, thanks. So data integrity with any developing of products or a software, there is a life cycle of data for creating data, processing the data, reviewing the data, retention, or when we are decommissioning the system, there will be a data. We cannot just throw the data away or delete it. So data integrity is should be by FDA, should be consistent, complete, accurate throughout the data lifecycle. There is a terminology called Al-Qawa, and Al-Qawa is the Bible of the data integrity. So the data must be reputable, meaning I know who performed it and when. So for example, if it's myself, it's my name there, it's legible, I can read it throughout the entire data lifecycle. The data is in a time of the activity. So I cannot document it a week after. When I generate the data while I'm working on a software or implementing a medical device, it should be documented on the spot. It's original, it's accurate. And at the end, FDA added the plus for complete, consistent, available, and enduring. These words means nothing, a lot of details, but I'll get into it. This is, again, just a high-level definition of the criticality of the data. So really, what we look into data integrity when I work on a data integrity project in any pharma or medical device company, how the data is accessed. Is everybody accessing the data or only authorized user? Are they electronic? If it is, where it is saved? If it is paper, how we are maintaining this paper? Is there like a vault for it? How we are maintaining this? Is the system generating audit trail? If not, are we doing it manual? The validation, the first part, I talked about it in our webinar, that if we have a validation document from A to Z, if the data has a timestamp on it, how we sync the timestamp, if it is global, to which timestamp, like which time, which clock, the retention of the data, are we backing up the data? Are we archiving the data? Many companies now, their data is in the cloud. So basically what we do, we audit for example, I've been in a project, I audit Amazon when they are saving their data. I worked with many companies, many for pharma, they buy a software, and this software now is cloud-based, and they don't have access to their data. We need to know all these information about the data and the background. And most of the vendors, if they are qualified vendors, they provide us this information. These are just a high-level definition of the data integrity. So for example, WHO, they say data integrity is the degree to which data are complete, consistent, accurate, trustworthy. FDA have their own definition, and other medicine conferences, they have their own definition as well. I know this is the needle for the vaccine, but also it means if there is an error or failures, how do we prevent it? Preventing the failures is by implementing right planning, right procedure, performing validation in a correct way. We do like impact assessment, impact analysis. We make sure our specification is correct. We establish traceability, and we have a good design and testing for the whole life cycle of validation of medical device or a product. This is a very interesting quotation for Henry Ford. He's the founder of Ford car. Quality means doing the right thing when no one is looking. So basically in our GXP environment, even if nobody is looking, we always have to do the quality, either validation or data integrity or audits. That must be our responsibility. And to have taking a key takeaways for us for today presentation is basically for the validation and data integrity, what we can get benefit from is to provide documentation required by FDA or wherever is the company is, if it's located in Europe or in Japan, it depends, to reduce the risk, legal liability, and promote like a more continual process improvement, and to save money from the beginning. Instead of failure in the future, we save money, and that means more return of value for the company. This is my information. If you guys have any questions in the future, if you would like to add me to LinkedIn,